Hello everybody, welcome to Talk About Houses. I'm Todd.
I'm Juana.
Okay, so today, as you can see, we're on location, but we're going to do a video anyway. We are obviously not in our office. That is not our office behind us, as you probably noticed from our last video.
So you also understand now that we have no lives, and our lives revolve around doing videos for you. So we hope you appreciate the video, like the video, share the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Let's go.
Okay, so what we want to do today was talk about probably what is the number one thing affecting housing right now. And it's probably not what most people realize. We have a cool chart here we're going to put up. This literally, I believe, summarizes what has happened in the last 3 years. The chart itself is going to tell you what is caused housing to do what it has basically done. Okay, Juana, what are the things that people believe are causing home prices to go up and there to be a lack of inventory?
Oh, well, so we have all kinds of good things going on. People believe that the economy is on the rocks. People believe that unemployment is skyrocketing. People believe that interest rates have gone to the moon, and we've got complete pandemonium. Everything's about to go up in flames.
Interest rates have never been 6.5%, ever. Since ever, right?
Never. Certainly not since they were 18%.
Not since they were, but not counting all the 3 decades, they were between 6 and 18%. They've never been 6%. Okay, we just don't count those years, right? Those were rebuilding years for the housing market. Okay. What's actually causing is this chart. Put the chart up here. As you can see, the trend over now remember, this chart goes back to the 80s. So this is almost 40 years ago. Mm-hmm. This is the number of people seeking relocation. I mean, these are people who are seeking to relocate from one corporate job to another corporate job, either at the same company or at a different company. And as you can see here, that as we go from the 80s to the 90s to the 2000s, that number of people moving has changed. But then if you look at Q1 of 2023, it's basically almost zero. The number of people attempting to relocate is almost none. So Juana, why is this happening? What trend in how we work is causing this to happen?
So a couple different things. First of all, our economy has changed, right? We've gone from an agrarian to an industrial to a service to a technology, and we are now, I would wager to say, in a new type of economy, in an economy of remote workers. So what I mean by that is not only are we working remotely today with you.
We're remote.
Yeah, that's right. So are a lot of other people. So people can now work for companies like Google, Facebook, SpaceX, all kinds of companies, Continental Tires or whatever, doing technology type things that require a computer but do not require other equipment, and they can do that work from Brazil, from South Africa, from Vietnam, from Eastern Europe, from anywhere on the planet, right? So that sort of shift is causing people to, in the U.S. and in other places, be able to live in other places. So this is a shift in how we live as far as housing, right? So this is a little more complicated. So what I mean by that is the shift in housing is not only where we live, but how we live. So let me give you an example. Maybe you're a technology worker, and maybe you worked in the Bay Area, and the Bay Area was very expensive, and you had a couple of roommates, right? Well, the pandemic hit, and everybody kind of dispersed, and so maybe now you have a couple choices. You can continue to live in the Bay Area, perhaps, but now maybe you don't have roommates, or maybe you've decided to relocate outside of the Bay Area, and now maybe you have a bigger place to yourself because you're working from home, and you want a bedroom, and maybe you want an office or an exercise room or something like that. So all of these are causing shifts in the way we live. So this whole idea of working remotely is changing the way we have household formations. So we go from one household, which was, whatever you and a couple other people happened to be there, or maybe to just yourself. And so now maybe there were 3 of you living in an apartment in the Bay Area. Maybe now the 3 of you have dispersed, and the 3 of you live in 3 separate dwellings. So now you've gone from 1 household to 3 households. So that means that's 3 times as many dwellings that are required to accommodate the same number of people.
Actual statistic, 2021, 2022, 2023, the number of household formations has doubled each of those years prior to the pandemic. So if we were adding 2 million households a year in the U.S. and building 1 million homes, we've been adding 4 million households a year. Now it takes a while for these statistics to get actually tracked, but technically people who graduate from college and then move into a apartment in downtown San Francisco, even though it's an apartment that they rent, that's considered a household formation. A household doesn't have to be married people. It just means people cohabitating in the same space. But it also means people just forming their own household. They could be by themselves. But like Wanda said, if 3 tech workers were living in the Bay Area and they're told they can work remote, and they go, well, for what I'm paying here in rent, I could go rent a nice apartment or a house further out of the city, or I could just go to some other location altogether. And that's the thing that's caused this. People aren't seeking relocation because, first of all, they're just not, people don't want to relocate. And the second thing is, people have found a place that they can either work, they can be digital nomads where they just travel. We actually met some people who, they traveled for 6 months straight, and they said the business they did was all online. They could manage it all online. And they were basically traveling the world. And they said, at night, we just work and we do our digital work that they do. I don't remember exactly what they did, but they said we work at night on the computer, and then during the day, we just do whatever we want. So the idea that you have to physically go in an office, that's a fundamental change, because like Juana was saying, if you were a insurance adjuster, you physically would go into the, if you were a claims auditor, you would physically have to sit in an office and hand paperwork. You would take the paperwork, fill it out, and then you would move it to the next person. But you don't do that today. Your physical paperwork is sent to you digitally. You go through it, and then you digitally move it to the next person. So you don't have to physically be in the office. Now, I think this is the next thing that's going to happen. The next thing that's going to happen is the AI is going to do that work. So you're not going to do the work as a person. I think a lot of these, people who look over a document and make corrections to it or apply some formula or algorithm, I think eventually an AI will sort of take over all that. And the day of you submit paperwork and 3 months later you get your result back, it's going to be almost instantly, right? I think that's going to happen, but that's sort of neither here nor there. But what I think is interesting is, as you look at this chart, that it's very clear that people staying in place and not being mobile chokes off housing supply.
Right. Yeah. So this is kind of something to keep in mind as far as the people saying, hey, we have excess housing. Well, not so much. We don't have excess housing. We know we don't. And we also know the reason, because people are choosing to form households, however those households are being formed, and there just is not enough housing to accommodate the current household formations nor household formations going forward because of the rate at which we are building new homes.
Yeah. So anyway, I thought the chart was interesting. I thought it really told the tale. The information revolution that we've gone through, from internet to information to basically being fully digital now, I think it's, we're not going to go backwards. Yes, we will probably add some manufacturing. We'll have parts of the country where people have to move, probably the South where there still is a lot of manufacturing. Places where they build cars or launch rockets for a lot of that. But I think a lot of the economy you're going to see that doesn't have to physically be in an office is not going to be in an office. It's just an expense. Look, if you're running a business, why would you want to have to pay, especially a startup business? You're less competitive. You have to pay for office space. Like if you have 10,000 employees and you have to pay for 10,000 employees worth of office space, that's a lot of money. I was reading an article where this one company just in San Francisco is paying $50,000 a month in office space, and they decided to shed that and drop down to one space that was $5,000 a month, and they basically said we're saving $45,000 a month in expenses that we were paying, and that would basically let them hire some more people.
Right. So that's $500,000 a year that they're saving. And it's not just tech workers that this is happening with. You've got medical billing people that are remote, and they've been remote for a long time, even before the pandemic. You've got, for example, for us, for a real estate office, we have transaction coordinators that are in a different state, because all we're doing is sending them paperwork, and they're processing the paperwork and requesting other paperwork, getting signatures and that sort of thing. Everything's done electronically, so we don't need that. So this is happening in a lot of industry, not just tech. So this is something that is going to be a trend going forward.
And it's the other thing too is, if you're trying to be competitive as a company and you don't have to pay San Francisco wages, if you can tell somebody, look, go live in Vegas, go live in Salt Lake City or Boise, go live in some other town, we don't care, but I can't pay you $180,000 a year to be an engineer, I can pay you $140,000, and you're like, okay, $180,000 in San Francisco doesn't get me very much, but $140,000 in Vegas gets me a really nice house.
Right.
So that's the decision people are making. It's smart for the person, it's smart for the tech company. I don't see this trend reversing. I think people are going to have, not having to get in a car and drive to work or get on a train and go to work is making people's lives easier. And I don't think people want to go back to it. So what's happening, and that's one of the reasons we have all these jobs, still have 8 or 9 million jobs not filled because people don't want to go back to the office.
Right.
Okay.
And that's our story for the day.
Yep.
What did you think? Are you cool with the remote location? Do you like these? Because we could do these more often.
Yeah, we ran out of the regular video, so now we got to make them live.
There you go.
Almost live.
Almost live. So anyway, so what do you think? We like going out on location. It's just a little more challenging because, as you could probably hear, there were people talking in the background, a car alarm going off, all kinds of chaos.
Yep.
But it's kind of fun too. So we hope you enjoy it. Let us know what you think. We appreciate your comments. We appreciate your feedback. We do listen to you. We do respond to a lot of them, so we appreciate all that. And we'll see you on the next video. Bye.
Bye.